On today's Locked On Royals podcast, we're going to talk about the Kansas City Royals getting the series win over the San Diego Padres. And Javier Reyes is here in all of his misery to discuss his Padres getting absolutely thrown overboard by my Kansas City Royals.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Royals Padres crossover. The Kansas City Royals were able to upset the San Diego Padres. The Padres are devastated, hands over their eyes, can't even look, and the Royals are rolling in to the weekend on a bit of a high note here. I'm Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Royals. And that's Javier Reyes, even though you can't see him because he's embarrassed by his team's performance, at Javapino on Twitter, host of Locked On Padres. Javier Reyes, I'm not even going to ask you how you're doing today because, frankly, no one cares at this moment, although we do care later on. Javi, I have one question for you, and one question only for you on today's crossover podcast. And that question, Javi, are the San Diego Padres cooked? He's weeping. He's weeping.
Rylan, it's incredible how this series went about as bad as it could have gone. They won a game. Congrats. They won one game. It wasn't a sweep. That's the only not bad thing that happened. But the Padres went out and followed up their Dodgers series by, even in the game that they won, which we had talked about in our crossover, was like, I think the Padres could win the series, but it won't be something to like inspire you. And they're not going to blow them out. And it might be like one of those 4-3 win type things. And that was kind of the case for the first game. You know, the reason they got their runs was actually through, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of errors on the Royals' part. I don't know if they were actually chalked up to be errors, but it was a 4-0 win. And now my app is acting all weird. And the only positive was that Michael Wacha was on. That was great. He had a no-hitter through 7. That was great. But other than that, I'm seeing the Royals had one error in that Monday game. It's just sort of like in that game, one of the reasons they score is Manny Machado getting hit by a pitch. Not a single, not a hit. Instead, he gets hit by a pitch. So not only did they lose this series, and they barely get anyone excited at all about their offense at all, Manny Machado has a small fracture in his hand now. Just as he was starting to slowly build back up to the Manny man that we know and love. They go out there and they make the Royals look like the Milwaukee Brewers. Just small ball, hitting some home runs. Vinnie P in the last game. Salvador Perez, I am shocked that Salvador Perez didn't go along. I'm shocked. That at bat that he had in game 3, I was like, it has to be happening here. He hit like 3 foul balls with an exit velo of like 400 miles an hour. So shouts to the Padres that she just missed it by a little bit. That's the other only good thing that happened in this series. They didn't give up the huge home run to Salvador Perez, I guess. Otherwise, they went into the series. This is a bounce back team. No offense. Aside from the Oakland A's, we have ranked the Kansas City Royals as the 29th best team in baseball. Sure, they have some talent. Sure, they've got some upcoming guys. They have Bobby Witt Jr., the allegedly best prospect once upon a time in baseball. You got MJ Melendez, some Puerto Rican power on the team. You got Vinnie P, who we just mentioned. But you go out there and you make them look like the 2016 Cubs. I don't understand. And I said it in the last show. I'm not asking these players. No one is saying they needed to be all MVPs. It was cool, the idea of that, the Mount Crushmore. I don't even know what I would call it right now. Mount Hushmore. That was terrible. That's how much of this series. It hurt a little thing in me. I'm not totally broken. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. But it's close. Let me tell you. And they go out here, and in game 3, and I said this in my little recap video on Twitter. They were down 4-0, partially because of that Vinnie P bomb that he hit. Great player. He's been the biggest, probably bright spot on this Royals squad. They go out there with the bases loaded. This is one of two times, Rylan, with the bases loaded. The first one being with 0 outs. And they score 3, I think it was 2 runs. Oh, that's great. They must have done well. Even when they score, it is not something to be excited about because it was a balk that resulted in a run and moved the runners up. And then it was this winky-dink little tadpole, piece of crap hit into the infield that ends up scoring another one. So they still refuse. Trent Grisham striking out with the bases loaded. Austin Nola, I want you to guess what he did for the 85th time this season. Striking out with runners in scoring position. They can't even hit a sac fly. A sac fly, Rylan. They can't even do that. This team, and I compared them to the 2015 Nationals a while ago, because I thought that team was, all the Sports Illustrated covers, all the hype. This has been the most disappointing team I have personally watched since then. And I know that some teams have had playoff failures and all that, but at least you got to the playoffs. In terms of this team overall right now, they're a disaster. And it's just the worst case scenario is basically happening for nearly every part of what makes a good baseball team, the San Diego Padres right now. They're a disgrace. I've said it many, many times. It's not a comedy, or it's not a tragedy. It's a comedy at this point. That's why I have my jester hat on, because that's what it feels like watching the Padres right now. It's incredible how much every single player is underperforming. Tatis with runners in scoring position, he didn't do anything in this last game. And I know you're probably getting a kick out of this. That's the thing that I can't stand. That little face of yours smirking behind the microphone. That's it's just we're being punished. I don't know who did something, but it feels like we're being punished. And you know what? Frankly, because I know someone's gonna say, "Oh, well, it's only May." I don't care. Okay, this is my job. I'm recapping to what's now. This isn't just a couple weeks or a few days when everyone lost their mind because Ha-Seong Kim had a bad play. No. This is everything. This is a team that looks terrible. And you have Nick Martinez, who I love. He's played well. He's more than welcome. No slander his way, but he's putting on his little wig, pretending to be Tatis. How is that the only cool thing that happened for us in this series? Is a very funny Tatis impersonation by a relief pitcher. That was the best thing that happened in this series. And now they play the Red Sox, who, breaking news, can hit really well. And I know that they're going to be amped up and being like, oh, whatever. And Kike Hernandez and whoever the heck they have playing shortstop from them now is probably going to somehow outplay Xander Bogaerts, who has been slowly getting back into the swing of things. I don't want to hate on the man too much, but Rylan, it is a disaster out here. I put a tweet on Twitter saying or actually, in fairness, somebody left a comment saying it should be, do I have to go back to Locked On Depressed Padres? Then someone said, what about Left On Base Padres? It's pretty good. See, he likes it. Even Rylan likes it. It's pretty good. And Rylan likes a good saying. Trust me, folks. He really does. He loves it. You should hear him off camera. And off microphone. It's incredible. He loves good sayings. Loves good gimmicks. He's a big gimmick guy. And the Padres, this is the most, because like last year, they had a poor lineup. But last year it was like, okay, Tatis is hurt. Everyone knows Hosmer and Will Myers. They probably peaked the previous year, or I should say they peaked in 2020. And it's like, okay, we're not expecting that much out of them. But with what they had last year, how are you worse almost in every single way than that offense last year? When you added Bogarts, you spent all this money. You have a full season of Soto. You basically have a full season of Tatis. And they look like me, Rylan. They look like me at the plate up there. That's plain and simple.
That was incredible. And if you literally want to look like Javier Reyes, you need to check out our good friends over at Bird Dogs. Folks, Bird Dogs is awesome. They're where you want to be. birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. Folks, they sent us these immaculate packages that you can buy you can buy shorts, you can buy pants. Javi, they even sent us this right here. This tumbler mug. Let me tell you, Javi, I brewed this cup of coffee. You hear it? Still coffee in there? I brewed this cup of coffee, okay, an hour and a half ago. And it's still piping hot. It's still piping hot, which I got to sip on while you were over there having a breakdown because my Royals came in and dominated your Padres, okay? What you can do is dominate your summer wardrobe because Bird Dogs, their shorts, let's just talk about their shorts for a second. Their shorts are immaculate. They are the definition of a 5-tool player. You can wear them to a business meeting and look like you are, booted and suited. You can wear them to a pickup basketball game and still have the comfort, the fit, the flexibility to get the job done and mess around and get a triple-double. You can wear them on the beach. You can wear them to an amusement park. You can wear them to a concert and look still done up in a good outfit and stay cool as well. They even have shorts that have built-in underwear to them. Folks, check it out today by going to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb and get yourself one of these free cool tumblers in their little starter kit. Great value in that starter kit. It's a Yeti style tumbler. Look at that. So cool. Check it out today. birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. Javi, we're back. Now you let it rip in segment 1. My Kansas City Royals have just decimated your spirits, and that is just peachy. Javi, Michael Wacha did the thing, huh? And this was like one of the only things we got wrong of the series preview episode. We said, hey, the Royals could win this series. We said, hey, even if the Padres win this series, it's still going to feel disappointing to you. True and true. But we also said that Wacha would get lit up by this Royals lineup because he's just not been very good. Did you notice any positive change in him to spark why he was so effective or no?
No, I think that he's just capable of a start like this every once in a while. And it's great. Love it. Congratulations to Michael Wacha and the Padres on having a good start against a struggling offense. That's really, you should be proud of that. You really should. You should take that with you. But yeah, he's going to be one of those pitchers that every now and then can have a game like that. He had it earlier this season against the Atlanta Braves when he struck out 10. And in this one, he practically was having a no-hitter go through. And to be honest with you, I was expecting to lose the game. I just was. I was like, somehow he's going to get taken out, and then Luis Garcia will have one of his moments. And then the Padres, of course, won't score if it comes down to that. But yeah, it was the one thing we got wrong. We also got, I don't know if it was wrong, but Seth Lugo, I had predicted was at some point going to get lit up. He does, but he leaves hurt. And yeah, forgot to mention that. So not only do we lose Manny Machado, but Seth Lugo, who'd been doing well, he can't do well against a bad team, and then he gets hurt too. So again, just great stuff right now for the San Diego Padres. But yeah, it's probably the one thing we got wrong. And it wasn't like nonstop home runs against him either, which is what I thought was going to happen. Instead, it was just a lot of, base hits, a little bit small ball stuff. They were ripping line drives, don't get me wrong, but not necessarily like a home run palooza, which is what I thought was going to happen potentially to him. But yeah, so congrats to Michael Wacha. At times he can be great. At times he's not so great. But for a back of the rotation starter, I mean, what more could you ask for?
Well, Javi, let's move into the 2 and 3 games in this series. That's kind of the more relevant and topical information.
Yeah.
That's where you lost Lugo, literally in the loss column, but also hard. Scott Barlow got the save in this game. What did you see from this Royals lineup, Javi? Whenever you're watching them, you're not as jaded, you're not as invested in Kansas City. You watch Bobby Witt Jr. get 2 hits, Salvador Perez, two RBIs, Vinnie P got a knock. What did you see? And most importantly, what did you see from Michael Garcia?
What I saw from the players in general, I'd say, is just kind of how I've always felt about the Royals. At least there's stuff. You know what I mean? At least that, yeah, it's a rebuilding team, but at least there's a couple guys to be really excited about. Pasquantino, who I am always just forever going to be, not suspicious is a strong word, but just very tepid with guys who have like a breakout rookie campaign in just a couple of games. Not a couple of games, but whatever it was, like 40, 60 games, that I'm always just going to assume that it's probably going to be a little bit worse the next year. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but might just have like that sophomore slump, I guess is what to say. And Vinny P has not been that. And that's really big news for the Royals. Maybe he's the actual superstar prospect on this team that people should be excited about. I don't know. But hey, I just think that they have stuff. You brought up Michael Garcia. Hard for me to analyze the Royals guys, but hey, I mean, he's seemingly almost, maybe this is gonna get him going, right? Maybe gets him going a little bit.
No. I'm not going to let you sit here and take these shots at Bobby Witt Jr., who just decimated your franchise. Today, base hit. He had a walk. He scored a couple runs. He was awesome in this game. Vinnie Pasquantino hit a home run off of that washed Yu Darvish. He's probably not washed. I'm just kind of running with it at this point, so don't like freak out. But nonetheless, MJ Melendez double. What more could you ever want to see from Bobby Witt Jr., who in that game dominates your franchise? Tuesday, 2 hits, a run scored, and an RBI. He was on fire this series, and so you don't have the right to talk bleep about him. You might have the right next week, but today you need to apologize to Bobby Witt Jr.
Frankly, I don't think I need to apologize to anyone ever, because I can't even pretend to do a Kang the Conqueror type of quote or anything like that right now. No, I didn't even mean to insult him, to be perfectly honest with you. He was great.
These little
We had
sly comments
mentioned
of like, oh, maybe he should be the best prospect. Maybe he should be the hyped up guy.
maybe he should be, just because he is the one that's performing really well right now, and he's kind of the star, and maybe he deserves more of a spotlight. But I think that in general, um, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I didn't mean to take too many shots at him. You can take as many shots at my players as you want. Nothing can really hurt me. I love you, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the best game, because why not? Let's just throw that on there. You know what I mean? Let's just have a Yu Darvish start, not go great. Just throw it on there like the onion ring you get in the French fries order. You know, just add an extra little treat for Padres fans in there. It's great stuff, man. It's great stuff. Yeah, I think that the Royals kind of just were. This is a turning point type of series for the Padres. I don't know what's going to happen now. But for you to have lost, 9 of your last 10 games, 8 of your last 10, something like that, and for it to be against a very poor team like the Royals at home, your manager called out the team not too long ago, and instead they look terrible. Even Manny Machado himself was like, "Yeah, they should boo. We're playing terrible." So I don't know, man. I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know. I need you to talk. I'm running out of things to keep me sane.
So look, I think that, and when I talk about this player, make sure that you know it's only about his on the field talent. Royals Chapman came in, pitched an inning, gave up 1 walk, struck out 2, no runs allowed, got the hold and turned it over to Clark, then to Barlow, then the Royals got the win. Chapman's going to get back a pretty decent. Well, I would say this: he's going to get back a significant return, and when I say significant, I mean, relative to what it cost the Royals to sign him and then get that return for him. So it's not going to be like someone's, best prospects, but the fact that you just pulled off Chapman off the street pretty much for free, to sign him, and then you're going to flip him here in a couple weeks at the deadline and get, I think you're going to get some, at least B tier prospects for him, C plus tier prospects for him. That is a huge win for Kansas City as he continues to pitch well. So every outing that he has where he pitches well is a win for Kansas City. So I don't think that this team is going to make a run in the postseason, obviously. And I don't think that he is going to be on the team that does. So you need to flip him right now while the getting's good. So that's kind of my big takeaway pitching wise from the game on Tuesday. I did sadly need to make you talk again, Javi. I'm sorry that you don't want to talk on a podcast, but I am clearly biased with Brady Singer. I love Brady Singer. I think that he has Cy Young potential if he ever would put it all together at the exact time. I know that putting it all together is very, very hard to do and typically doesn't happen. But watching Brady Singer, I think that this game against the Padres kind of summed it up pretty well. 6 innings pitched. He allowed 7 hits, 4 runs. 2 of them were earned, 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. There were moments where he showed flashes of he's got the goods. And then there's moments where he, missed a spot or whatever the case is. What did you view from him stuff-wise about his pitches?
Slider looked all right from what I saw. Generated 4 whiffs on the pitch. I didn't see anything that was suggesting that this is going to be a bounce back for him because, again, it's really hard to wager because the Padres are about as good as my high school team at the plate these days. But it also should be brought up that that he only gave up 2 earned runs and it was 4 runs in total, but it was only 2 earned. So people who were looking at the box score, it's an important note to make. He was very good last year for the most part. He at least showed stuff. And I don't know what he's going to be. I don't know if last year was this is mean, but his Phil Hughes one moment in the spotlight, despite being a highly regarded prospect and kind of never living up to it. And you just have that one season that really goes your way. Maybe that's what last year was, which I don't want. I would love the Royals to develop some pitching. I think that'd be great. I think it'd be fun for the Royals to be good because I do think they have a really fun little nucleus that they're developing. And new management and all that stuff. So that's kind of cool. But for the most part, I don't know. I don't totally see it. He only had 3 strikeouts. But at least, apparently the Royals were really big fans of giving up a lot of walks in this series. And he was not one of those. He only walked 2. So that's not too bad. So again, I wouldn't be holding on too much for Brady Singer. I just think that doesn't seem to have it. And I think that there's a reason why every prospect analyst, every blog you go to makes jokes these days about the Royals and developing pitching. They're almost at the level of the Baltimore Orioles when it comes to getting slandered for not developing pitching well. So I guess we'll have to see that. You would know more than me.
Javi, can you tell us about our good friend, our passionate friend, So Rare, in this game that is just sweeping the nation? It's sweeping the Locked On MLB. It's a sweeping game. That's what you're saying about it. It's a sweeping game. What is it about So Rare? Can you tell us about our good friends over there?
It's a sweeping game. It's a sleeping game. Trading cards, fantasy baseball. I mean, what more could you ask for? You know what I mean? It's really cool. And 2 ambassadors of this fine application are actually Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez. So if you want to meet the guy who seemingly has caught fire, Mr. Juan Soto, potentially that might happen because they're giving away all sorts of prizes if you win your games, to stadium stuff, in-person experiences, jerseys, all sorts of stuff. This isn't just a little, oh yeah, you won a little, coupon to some random restaurant or whatever. No, they probably have that too, but that's just the lowest tier. And they've got all sorts of stuff for you. You can collect different versions of cards and it's a lot of fun. I've seen people setting their lineups. It's not something you have to set every day. So it's got that nice little balance of both trading cards and then not necessarily the everyday grind of fantasy baseball that I know some people who aren't crazy like me often forget and get a little bit, too busy for. So I would check it out. It's really, really fun. And Rylan, I do believe that just for listening to this here podcast, that we can tell these folks about a wonderful little deal that they get just for listening. And what would that be, Rylan?
Just for listening, you can go over to our good friends at SoRare, play this immaculate game. And I will say, got to give credit where credit due. Lindsey Crosby, locked on MLB prospect, does every in the game SoRare. He has like cracked the code. He has spreadsheets. He's immaculate at it. Every day we kind of screenshot our points and see where everyone's at. And he always does this. And I think it's on purpose. He always magically happens to be the last person to send in his screenshot. And he always magically happens to have the most points out of anyone in SoRare. So if you think that you can dominate this game, SoRare, make sure you check out Locked On Prospects as well, because they are going to be telling you about some ways you can win as well. And you can go there right now, use the code Locked On, and make sure that you check it out today. We're back on the Locked On Royals Padres crossover. Javi, series is over. Our 3-part extravaganza closes with a series recap. Who are your 3 stars from the series? You can do 3 Padres stars. You can do a mixture of both teams, but who are your 3 stars of this series?
I'd say the acronym RISP is a star of this series. I would say Vinnie P is a star of this series. The brief moment in which my mom realized that Chapman was on the Royals, so my mom gets a star for this series. That was very funny. Admittedly, an inside only funny to me joke. And then I'd probably say maybe the Royals bullpen a little bit. Didn't do too bad. And Scott Barlow closing out the series very strongly. Getting a strikeout, I think 2 strikeouts and then a ground out to close it out. So those are probably the biggest overall stars. You can maybe point to Juan Soto, who's still just been really good. He had another double in this series as well. He's drawing walks. He was good. But for the most part, that's probably where to go. And then Ha-Seong Kim, I guess, a little bit of a decent game at the end, kind of having a multi-hit game. But for the most part, I know I named more than 3. My apologies on torpedoing your segment. But I think in honor of the Padres, I should just turn into a dumpster fire here at the end. I think that's what I should do.
Well, I'm glad you waited to the end. But my 3 stars: Vinnie Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr., who has been absolutely crapped on by a lot of people. Many people have talked about, oh, you got to send him down to Omaha. Many people have said, oh, he's overrated. Winning impact in this series. And my number 3 star, you snubbed me here, scooped me here, Royals bullpen. To go out there against the Padres and get that effort today to shut the door on a series win that have been elusive this season for the Royals with a bullpen game, big time. So there's my 3 series stars. Javi, this is where you're going to shine. So pull yourself out of the dumpster, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Who are your 3 duds of this series?
Where do I begin? Genuinely, I don't even know where to begin. The Padres, I'm just going to say the acronym RISP again, as my 1 star, or I should say loser, whatever, for the series. Trent Grisham is one that needs to be pointed out because while he has improved as an offensive player this year, he's hitting the ball harder, his max exit velos and all that stuff is up. His walk rate has been great. Does strike out a little bit too much, especially on pitches that he's swinging at. This isn't like he's got just a problem with chasing pitches. He's just not good with bat to ball skills. And I think that's becoming a little bit of a problem. Granted, on a team that allegedly was supposed to have superstar players at the top of the lineup, that wouldn't be as much of an issue to just have a guy who's got a decent amount of power, can walk a little bit, but his batting average has gone below 200, which is bad, despite what the nerds may tell you. And I think that the other one would have to be, I almost don't want to say Yu Darvish, because it's always weird when a struggling offense continues to struggle, and he basically made that one big mistake to Vinnie P. So I don't want to hate on him too much. I would say you have to bring up Manny Machado and Seth Lugo, not because they played poorly per se, but just because they got hurt, and that really hurts the team. And Manny Machado, who famously only Paul Goldschmidt has played more games than him since like 2017, is now hurt, and we're going to get more news on whether or not he has to hop on the IL. So I'd say injury luck is a big loser for the Padres. Depth is a big loser for the Padres. And then AJ Preller, I think, deserves some blame here, because we really saw this series about this lack of depth, I think, from the Padres bullpen, or the Padres team in general. I mean, we've seen that for the past 2 weeks, but especially these last couple series. And it's something that I talked about on my show. You know, I was famously, before the trade deadline, I was like, look, I'm going to be ecstatic if they trade for Juan Soto, but I don't think they need to. I like having assets. I like having flexibility. This is why I like having flexibility, because if your team is a nightmare wagon and it has descended into the depths of Tartarus, then you like to at least have some ammo to climb out of that pit. And none of the deals in a vacuum for the Padres are terrible, right? None of the deals. I don't think any of them in a vacuum are that bad. But when you have 6 players extended for like 10 years and they're not all playing the way they should be, that is a problem, because you cannot move them around. You can't do anything. If Nelson Cruz is bad, who cares? He's here for 1 year. Manny Machado's here for 11. Tatis is here for another like 12. Juan Soto, the only one that's been playing well lately, well, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He's here for another year. You just signed Xander Bogaerts for 11 years. Yu Darvish is extended for another 8. Jay Cronenworth for another 8. Joe Musgrove for another 4. Speak. Go ahead.
My 3 duds.
Oh, that's Keller? Right. That's where this started out. Yeah, my bad.
Brad Keller. Hunter Dozier.
Oh, yeah. I should have said Brad Keller. He walked 8 people.
Brad Keller, Hunter Dozier, and Jackie Bradley Jr. All 3 of whom I would love to no longer be in Kansas City, by the way, if we could ever have that happen. But it seems that they're destined to be in Kansas City forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to just sit there and what are you doing? And sit there in my and just laugh your behind off. But for those of you not watching on YouTube, you should check it out on YouTube. There have been many camera presence moments for Javi Reyes today. He is clearly going through it.
Waka waka.
Javi, the Royals have an off day on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
And then they go to Chicago to play the White Sox on the South Side, where they're going to have Greinke, Jordan Lyles, and then a TBD pitcher on Sunday. What a mystery that is. We'll figure out who it is later on. We'll see what they can do. Hopefully they can build upon this series win and get it done against another low-level team with the White Sox. What do the Padres have on tap?
The Padres will be playing the Boston Red Sox, a series that I'm sure won't be embarrassing as they get swept from the team that they poached Xander Bogaerts from. That should be a lot of fun starting on Friday night. That should be cool. Blake Snell on the mound, though. For some optimism on this podcast, I will say Snell has looked a little bit more like he's getting into the part where he's actually a really effective pitcher, especially when it comes to strikeouts. He hasn't been incredible the last 3 starts, but he's gone innings. He has had a couple starts where he didn't walk too many batters. The fastball hasn't been elevated as much as it does at the beginning. I'm hoping to see him focus more heavily on the fastball slider combo than a kind of fastball changeup. Even if it's been effective at points, I just think the slider of his is a little bit better, and kind of ditching the curve a little bit more too. So against a tough Red Sox lineup, I think that's a really good test for him. I do. And I think that Red Sox lineup, while it is overperforming this year, it's not that shocking to me because Boston has done this before where they just completely punt on every other thing to make a good baseball team, and then they're just magically great, and it won't matter. Can't relate. Can't relate. Let me tell you. So that's something to look forward to, and there's probably a Joe Musgrove start on the horizon. That might be Saturday's game. I'm going to check right now. Yeah, that's pitched to be Musgrove versus Chris Sale, so that might be a nice little matchup. So a fun weekend in store. Because Rylan, here's the other thing. You know I hate Boston sports. I mean, you know this. You know I hate Boston sports, right? So this weekend, if they once again don't show up against the team that they took Xander from, not only will it be embarrassing, it might get me on Monday to say the words that you asked me at the very beginning of this podcast, that the Padres are cooked. It might. It very much might. This is about as bad as things could go, my friend.
Well, as you descend off to your jokerism, see if Javi has anything left on Friday. We'll be here to preview the White Sox series.
Oh yeah,
Locked on Royals.
I should
Javi,
mention real quick. I probably am going to be doing a crossover with Red Sox host Lauren. That should be great. So look forward to that for Friday's episode, and look forward to me and Rylan tomorrow as we do a little breakdown of the power rankings, which should be a very fun thing to see because I believe we recorded that right before the last game. So before I had gone mad, if people want to see me a little bit more normal. So you have that to look forward to too.
All right, Javi. Glad you're interrupted for that. See you guys.